With that said, there are certainly limits to confidentiality.
Yeah.
So what's one of the big ones for that?
I think one of the big ones that I run into lots of times is that if there's imminent danger to yourself or to others. And what I mean by that is if you're going to leave my presence and harm yourself or harm somebody else. And not harm in terms of like self-harm, but with the intent to kill yourself or kill somebody else. So if I believe you're going to leave my presence and do that, I think there's professionally, ethically, personally, I'm obligated to access resources to support you or to support somebody that's feeling that way, because their safety is very important to me. Now that's very different than somebody coming to me and saying, hey Andy, I've been having this thought for a while. That's a very different thing. Thinking about it and planning on doing it are very, very different. So you can talk to me all day long about, hey Andy, I've had these thoughts and feelings, and I'm not going to get right on the phone and contact these resources to support you if you don't want. That's a very different than, hey, I have this plan and I think I'm going to enact it. So, so if there is imminent danger, you're going to leave my presence and try to kill yourself, try to kill somebody else, then I will access additional supports for you.
Right. Another limit to confidentiality is reasonable suspicion of any kind of abuse, whether it's physical, emotional, sexual, or neglect. So both of us, anybody who works with children is a mandated reporter.
Yep.
So what that means is if we have information that we have been told or we can see or we know that somebody is being abused, we are ethically bound to report that to somebody who can help.
Yep.
And that goes for children, adolescents.
Children, adolescents, elders, so just for the sake of argument, no offense for anybody that's over the age of 65. But that's usually, the cutoff that a lot of people kind of go with, 65, 67, retirement age. Or an adult of diminished capacity. So any adult that has a hard time asking for help themselves. So, that could be, maybe it's an adult that's in a coma or something, or maybe it's an adult that has an intellectual delay that makes it harder for them to say, hey, my caretaker is hurting me, or things like that. So then we have to ask for help for them.
Yeah. So another one is if we have a signed release. So oftentimes, being a school counselor, being a mental health counselor, we will have either the client you're working with, or if it's a minor under 18, their parent or guardian will sign a release saying that the counselor can communicate with another counselor or somebody else, a doctor or something like that, to share information that's needed to better help the person that they're working with, or share information that, or ask questions that they might need. Hey, you might ask how to find more information about how a student is doing in school, so that I can share that with the student support team.
Yep, absolutely. And what's really important too about releases is that in the mental health world, releases can't be any longer than a year. So it's not like indefinitely I can talk to so-and-so. You get to say how long that release can be. So that release can be for a day or for up to a year. And you have the right to have that release torn up at any time. And on that release, you get to say exactly what I can say or cannot say, and who or whom I can say that to. So it can be a broad thing like, hey, this whole school, you can tell this. Or it could just be, hey, only Kayla can know this information. And so I think all those things are put in place so that you feel empowered and feel very protected, that your information is protected.
So the next limit, court order.
Yes, so court order is, and that's one of those things where it could come up with, like, let's say For me, I think custody, if a custody hearing comes in, not every custody hearing comes in, but if there is some questions about safety that comes in, and so then I might be subpoenaed to talk about, hey, I've been working with this minor, and these are some safety concerns that have popped up. And so it'd be stuff like that.
And it's similar for me if it's a custody thing between parents and the parent's lawyer or the judge, the court that they're working with knows that the student has been working with the school counselor. Sometimes I'll be subpoenaed to come in and talk about any concerns with either parent as far as from the child's perspective.
Yep.
Or if there was abuse reported and then it goes to court, sometimes I'll be subpoenaed and we have to go and talk.
That's right. And with that too, some other important information to make note. Again, I'm not a lawyer, so some of this stuff that's with court orders, I would definitely double check with a lawyer. Would be there's a thing that's called a quash order that can be requested, that a lawyer can request, and that's pretty much my understanding. Again, I'm not a lawyer. My understanding what that is that if we feel that, whether that is the client, the lawyer, the family, or even the counselor, feel that my testifying or the counselor testifying is going to cause more harm to an individual than good that it's going to do, you can try and file a quash order, which essentially asks the judge to get the information a different way. The judge can say no, thanks for the quash order, but tell me anyways, with the exception of substance abuse. And I'm not a substance abuse counselor, so I would check with the substance abuse counselor, or if there's one watching that wants to post below and say, hey, this is how CFR 42 works, which is what I'm about ready to talk about. And what that is that when you're going to substance abuse counseling, you have a higher level of confidentiality. My understanding is that there are times when a substance abuse counselor can tell a judge, I'm not at liberty to disclose that information because you're dealing with substance abuse, and there may be some illegal activities that are going along with substance abuse if you're using an illegal substance. And so because of that, that's why that higher level of confidentiality is needed, that higher level of security of, hey, I can really talk to this person about what's going on in my life, and I don't have to worry about going to jail because I'm trying to work through this really tough thing in my life.
Right.
So those are some limits to a court order that I just wanted to let everybody know about. Another limit to confidentiality would be somebody, an unemancipated minor. So somebody who is under the age of 18 whose guardian is still a parent, or is the state or somebody else is their guardian. Now technically, the parent or guardian can have access to what is said in that in the counseling environment, whether that's progress notes, whether that's, hey, what did you guys talk about? The way that I approach it, and you may approach it similarly, is I'll talk with the parent and ask them to respect confidentiality. Because if a child feels that, or an adolescent feels that, hey, everything I'm going to tell you, you're just going to tell my parents anyways, they're not really going to open up to me, and we're not really going to be able to do that healing process through counseling. So I ask the parents if they are willing to agree at the beginning of counseling that me and the minor will tell the parent or guardian if there's something they need to be aware of, we will tell them together. So that may not mean the first time around that, hey, I've been having these feelings, or I had this experience. Don't tell my parents. I'm not going to go right to them. I may have a conversation with, hey, that's probably something that your parents or your guardian should know about. How about we figure out how to tell them? So then it may take us, a time or two to kind of figure out how that message is going to be presented and work through worries about that, and then present that to the parent or guardian.
Right, and I think that's part of the counseling work itself.
Yes,
Is,
absolutely.
encouraging that honesty, especially with minors, and talking with their parents and guardians, and helping them through that and what to say and how to say it, and feeling safe to say it.
Absolutely, I agree. What's another limit to confidentiality that you think of?
So another one is supervision. So oftentimes a mental health counselor might have a supervision group or supervisor they go and talk to help them become a better counselor. And school counselors, it's the same way. So I already mentioned the administrative piece that is my supervisor, so sometimes I have to share some information. Or if I'm participating in supervision with other school counselors, and if we're really stuck on like a certain case or a certain student we're trying to help, sometimes we'll talk about information as confidentially as we can, meaning we won't share, names and identifying information that would be obvious to somebody else who we're talking about.
Right, absolutely. And your supervisor, my supervisors are also bound by confidentiality.
Right.
So what's talked about with them stops at them. It's not like, hey, now I've told them and then they can go tell whoever.
Right.
So absolutely. Another one is for reimbursements, probably more my world than your world.
Right, I don't have to worry about that.
That's right. So in my world, so for reimbursement, so getting paid for providing that service. So the insurance companies are going to see something that has your name attached to it, and then usually it's going to have a diagnosis. Some may want a general idea. Most actually want a general idea of, hey, what is it that you're working on? Not in specifics. It could be something as general as working on coping skills for anxiety. It could be something a little bit more detailed than that too, depending on what your insurance company wants. And hey, you came and saw me on this date. So all of that stuff is all protected information and confidential information. But even then, the insurance companies are also bound by confidentiality. So the person that sees that information, whoever that death's that information, comes to, it stops with them as well. They can't say, oh, hey, I know, John Doe at, whatever address, and then can go tell their friends. That's a breach in confidentiality as well. That's something else that's protected under HIPAA. So, which stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act.
So that's the law that mental health counselors and anybody, medical professionals and things like that have to abide by. And in the school, it's FERPA. It's Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act. And so both of us, it's different laws, but it's essentially we are bound ethically, legally bound to protect in the most ways that we can your confidentiality. And it's so important to any progress that we would make with anybody we're working with. So it's, we're constantly thinking about it and constantly checking in with ourselves and making sure that we're following everything for your best interest for people that we're working with. So. Yep,
exactly right. So the last one isn't really like an official one. It's kind of an unofficial one where if I see somebody in public that I work with, I will not say hi to them first. Not because I'm trying to be a jerk or because, hey, I don't want to associate with you. That's not at all what's going on there. What's going on there is that I'm giving you the option to acknowledge me first. Because if I acknowledge you first, you might be with somebody who knows I am a counselor, but doesn't know that you're in mental health counseling. And then by me saying hi, they may assume that you're in counseling with me, and that would violate your confidentiality. So I won't say hi first. If you say hi to me in public, that tells me that it's okay to say hi back and you don't mind my acknowledging you. So I would say hi back. But if you want to do the, holy crap, there's Andy.
Right,
I'm not
it's your choice.
Absolutely, I'll not take offense to that at all. And that's part of what your rights are.
Right, and again, it's a little differently for me working in a school because for one, I work with elementary kids, so a lot of times if they see me, they're gonna not only say hi, but run up and give me a bear hug. So, and I'm totally okay with that because it doesn't, just because they recognize me and say hi to me doesn't mean that they're seeing the school counselor and they have all these problems. They know me because I work in their school, so it's a different situation. But again, I give the same right that if they want to walk by and pretend they don't know me, that's okay, and I won't be offended by that. So.
Excellent. So any other things about confidentiality that you want to make sure that people know about?
I don't think so. I think just what I said a couple of minutes ago about how important it is for mental health and school counseling professionals. It's the core, honestly, the core of what we do, so that we can help people, so that they know they have a right to privacy. Absolutely. And we do our best to protect that. So if you guys have other questions, or you want us to clarify anything we talked about today, please write below the video, ask questions, send an email. Our email is on our channel, but it's thatcounselorcouple@gmail.com, so you can always send an email too if you want it to be more private. That's certainly okay. We can respond in email, or we can respond in another video, depending on what we get from you.
Nice, excellent. So as always, this may not fit in your life or may not apply to you, because it doesn't always apply to everyone. But if it does,
work what works for you
and leave the rest.